It was late in the afternoon when Emma first heard the knock. The sound startled her, was soft, uncertain, like someone hesitating on the porch. Her husband, Jake, had left 2 days ago for a work trip to Chicago, and since then, the house had felt too quiet. She'd tried to fill the silence with small things: folding laundry, watering plants, cleaning shelves she'd never noticed before. Still, the emptiness lingered. When she opened the door, the last thing she expected to see was Mark and Ryan, Jake's closest friends, standing there with warm smiles and takeout boxes in their hands. Hey, Mark said, grinning. Jake told us you might be bored out of your mind, so we brought dinner. Ryan lifted a cup of coffee toward her, adding, and caffeine always helps. Their easy energy filled the space before she could even respond. She hadn't seen them in months, since a backyard barbecue last summer, but they're familiar. Presence felt strangely comforting. She laughed softly. You two really didn't have to do this. Of course we did, Ryan said. Jake practically ordered us to. Said you've been doing too much and not smiling enough. The words caught her off guard. It sounded exactly like something Jake would say. She stepped aside and invited them in. Within minutes, her quiet kitchen was alive again, the sound of boxes opening, laughter spilling through the air, the faint scent of pizza and coffee mixing with the warmth of conversation. They talked about old-time stories from college, the road trips Jake had dragged them on, the pranks they'd played. Emma laughed so hard she had to hold her side. She hadn't realized how much she missed that kind of noise, the easy comfort of people who didn't need to pretend. Mark helped fix a loose drawer that had been stuck for weeks, while Ryan set the table like he'd done it 100 times before. For a moment, Emma forgot about the emptiness that had followed Jake's departure. She looked at them and felt a small spark of gratitude. The evening felt simple and real. Yet beneath that comfort was a quiet ache because she wished Jake were there too, laughing along, teasing his friends, like always. After dinner, they moved to the living room, where Mark started telling an exaggerated story about Jake's attempt to cook steak for the first time. Emma couldn't stop laughing. Her cheeks hurt, her stomach ached, but she didn't mind. For the first time in days, the house felt alive again. Then, in the middle of all the laughter, Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and smiled. It's Jake, he said. Want to say hi? Emma's heart jumped. She nodded quickly. Ryan put the call on speaker and Jake's voice filled the room. Hey, you guys made it? Mark laughed. Yeah, and your wife's been feeding us like kings. Good, Jake replied, his voice calm but carrying a hint of amusement. Glad to hear she's not hiding from you. Emma smiled. You didn't tell me you were sending backup, she said. Jake chuckled. I just wanted you to have company. You've been working too hard. There was something about the tone of his voice, soft but deliberate, that made her heart tighten. Then, just as she was about to thank him, he added, Oh, and guys, don't forget to check the camera. The room fell quiet. Ryan frowned. Camera? Jake's laugh came through the speaker, low and teasing. You'll see. Then the call ended. For a moment, no one said anything. Mark looked at Ryan, half joking. Did he just say camera? Like he's watching us right now. Emma blinked, confused. What camera? They all looked around the room, half laughing, half curious. Ryan stood and glanced around the corners, pretending to search. Maybe it's a prank, he said. Emma forced a laugh too. But inside, a strange unease settled in her chest. Jake had a playful side, but this felt different. She couldn't tell if it was a joke or something more serious. As the evening went on, they let it go and returned to chatting. The house glowed warmly and the sound of laughter filled every room. But when Mark and Ryan left later that night, promising to stop by again tomorrow, Emma couldn't shake the thought of Jake's last words. She walked through the house slowly, checking corners, glancing at the walls. Everything looked the same. The family photos, the clock ticking softly, the candles she'd lit earlier. Yet something about the space felt watched. When she went to bed, she found herself staring at the ceiling longer than usual. Jake's voice echoed in her mind. Don't forget to check the camera. She turned on her side, trying to ignore it, but sleep didn't come easily. The laughter from earlier now seemed distant, like a memory already fading. Her mind replayed every detail the way Jake had spoken. The look on Ryan's face, the strange weight that had filled the room after that sentence. At some point, she drifted off, but her dreams were restless. In them, she saw Jake smiling through a screen, his voice gentle but unreachable. When she woke up just before dawn, the first light slipping through the curtains, that image still lingered in her mind. She sat up, feeling a strange pull to do what Jake had said, to look for the camera. It felt silly, but she couldn't help it. The idea had taken root. She threw on her robe, walked downstairs, and stood in the middle of the living room. Everything was quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge. Her eyes drifted toward the fireplace, the centerpiece of the room where most of their family memories were displayed. That's when she noticed it, a small black object tucked neatly behind a framed photo of her and Jake from their anniversary trip. It was so small that it almost blended into the shadow. But when she looked closer, she saw the faint red light blinking. Her breath caught. For a moment, she couldn't move. It wasn't fear exactly, more like confusion mixed with disbelief. She reached up slowly, pulling it down. It was a camera, not one she recognized. Her hands trembled as she turned it over, realizing it was recording. The weight of it in her hand felt heavier than it should. Was this Jake's idea of a surprise? Or had it been there longer than she knew? She looked around, suddenly aware of every corner, every sound in the house. The silence returned, thicker now, pressing against her chest. When her phone buzzed moments later, she jumped. It was a text from Jake. "Hope you liked the surprise." Look above the fireplace. Eyes widened. He'd planned it, but what kind of surprise was this? She set the camera down on the coffee table, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Jake was always thoughtful, but this recording her without telling her felt strange. Still, there was a part of her that wondered if this was just his way of showing love from afar. He knew she missed him. Maybe he wanted her to feel seen, even when he wasn't there. She sat on the couch, the early light touching her face, the camera's red light blinking softly beside her. Somewhere deep down, she sensed that this was only the beginning, because whatever Jake had planned with that camera, it wasn't over yet. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, but Emma barely noticed. She sat on the couch, staring at the small black camera lying on the coffee table. It looked harmless, just a smooth, ordinary device, but the way Jake had texted her about it made her uneasy. He'd said, "Hope you liked the surprise." But what kind of surprise was this? Why would he install a camera without telling her? She turned it over again and saw a small logo, one she didn't recognize. When she pressed a button on the side, a soft beep sounded, and the red light flickered once before going out. The screen on the back showed a day 2 weeks ago. Her heart skipped. That was before Jake had left for his trip, so he hadn't just set this up yesterday. It had been here recording for days. She stood, her breath quickening. If there was one camera, could there be more? She walked through the house, scanning the walls, the shelves, the corners. Every little shadow made her suspicious. In the kitchen, she found another one tucked above the fridge, hidden behind a small plant. In the hallway, one sat above the picture frame of their wedding photo. Each one had a faint red blink, quiet but alive. Her hands shook. This wasn't a joke anymore. When Jake had called last night, his voice had sounded so normal, so calm. She tried to tell herself it was all harmless, that maybe he just wanted to make sure she was safe while he was away. He'd always been protective, maybe a little too much. Still, the thought of being watched, even by someone she trusted, made her skin crawl. She called him. It rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. She tried again. No answer. She texted him, "Jake, I found the cameras." "What is this? Why are they here?" Minutes passed. No reply, trying to calm down. She made coffee, though her hands were trembling so badly she spilled half the water. As she sat by the window, staring at the street outside, she noticed a car parked across the road, a black SUV with tinted windows. It wasn't unusual for cars to park there, but something about the way it had been sitting in the same spot since yesterday made her uneasy. She looked away quickly. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe all of it was nothing. Later that afternoon, Ryan stopped by again, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Hey," he said cheerfully. "Mark's running late, but I figured I'd check in. You okay?" Emma hesitated. "I found cameras in the house." Ryan froze. "What do you mean, cameras?" She led him to the living room and showed him the one she'd left on the table. His smile faded. "Jake set these up." She nodded. "He texted me about them. Said it was a surprise." Ryan frowned. "That doesn't sound like him. Did he say why?" "No," she said softly. "And now he's not answering." Ryan picked up the camera, turning it over in his hands. "This is not a cheap gadget," he said quietly. "Looks like it's made for surveillance." Emma's stomach tightened. "You think someone's spying on us?" Ryan shook his head slowly. "I don't know. But if Jake didn't tell you about this before he left, that's strange." Before she could respond, the doorbell rang. Both of them looked at each other. Ryan stepped closer to the door and opened it carefully. Mark stood there, holding a brown envelope. "You're not going to believe this," he said, stepping in. "Jake sent me a message last night with a delivery code. This was at the post office this morning." Emma's heart raced. "What's inside?" Mark handed it to her. "He said it was for you." She tore it open. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a small USB drive. The note was written in Jake's familiar handwriting. "If you're reading this, something's wrong. Don't trust anyone until you've seen what's on the drive." Emma's pulse quickened. "What is this supposed to mean?" Ryan grabbed his phone. "We should check it, but maybe on my laptop. Not here." They drove to Ryan's place, a small apartment a few blocks away. The whole way there, Emma felt like the walls of her life were closing in. Every red light, every shadow outside the window made her tense. When they arrived, Ryan plugged in the USB. The screen flickered. Then a video appeared. It was Jake. He was sitting in his office, looking tired but focused. "Emma," he said, voice steady, "if you're watching this, I didn't make it home. I found something at work, something I shouldn't have seen. They've been watching me. Maybe us. Those cameras are for your protection. Please trust me. Don't contact the police yet. I'll try to reach you soon." The video ended abruptly. Emma sat frozen. The air in the room felt heavy. Ryan and Mark stared at the blank screen, speechless. "He said they," Mark whispered. "Who's they?" Ryan rubbed his temples. "If Jake's in trouble, we need to figure out what he was working on." Emma's voice shook. "He works for a tech company. Security systems. He never told me much." Ryan opened his laptop again, typing quickly. "Then maybe we start there." Hours passed as they searched online for any mention of Jake's company, news updates, or strange reports. Emma's phone buzzed again. It was a new text from an unknown number. "Don't trust them. Go home, stay quiet." She gasped, showing it to Ryan, who sent this. Ryan's face hardened. "We're not going anywhere until we know what's happening." They packed up and returned to Emma's house cautiously. The black SUV was still there. Ryan parked down the street. The front door was unlocked, even though Emma was sure she had locked it inside. The house looked the same until she noticed one thing. The camera on the coffee table was gone. Her chest tightened. It was right here. Kay searched the room quickly. "Someone's been inside." Ryan's jaw clenched. "We need to call the police now." Emma hesitated, thinking of Jake's message. Don't contact the police yet. She didn't know who to believe anymore. The man she loved was missing, but he'd warned her not to reach out for help. Just then, her phone buzzed again. It was a new message from Jake's number. "Don't be afraid. I'm on my way." Her eyes widened. "It's Jake." Mark frowned. "Are you sure it's really him?" Before she could reply, the lights in the house flickered once, then went out completely. The room sank into darkness. Outside, a car engine started the same SUV from across the street. Its headlights flashed once through the window before speeding away. Emma's heart pounded. She clutched her phone, staring into the dark. Every nerve in her body alive with fear and confusion. If Jake was coming home, what had he gotten himself into? And who were the people watching them? The red light on one of the hidden cameras blinked once, then turned off completely. The light stayed off for several long seconds before flickering back on. Emma's heart raced. Ryan checked the fuse box, but everything seemed fine. The house felt different now, quiet, heavy, like someone had just left. The missing camera still haunted her. Whoever had taken it knew where to look. Mark pulled the curtains closed. "That SUV's gone," he said, glancing out the window. "But it felt like they wanted us to know they were here." Emma sat down, clutching her phone. "Jake texted me. He said he's on his way." "But how could he be? He's supposed to be in Seattle." Ryan frowned. Could someone else have his phone? The thought made Emma's stomach twist. She wanted to believe it was Jake, but something about the timing didn't feel right. The text came just as the power went out. It felt planned. Ryan moved to the desk and grabbed a notebook. "We need to write down everything we know. Jake worked for Sentinel Systems, right?" She nodded. "Yes, he designed software for home security cameras." Mark leaned in. "So maybe these cameras weren't just to watch you. Maybe they were part of something bigger, like he was testing a system." Emma shook her head. "Then why hide them? Why not tell me?" Ryan sighed. "Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he found something dangerous at work." Just then, a soft ping came from Emma's laptop on the kitchen counter. She hadn't touched it since yesterday. A small notification flashed: "New upload from Jake Morrison." Her heart skipped. She opened it quickly. It was a private cloud folder. Inside there was only one video. Ryan pulled up a chair beside her as she clicked play. Jake appeared again, sitting in what looked like his office. His face was tense, his voice urgent. "Emma, if you're watching this, it means they found out. The people I worked for aren't who they said they were. Sentinel isn't just a tech company. They're collecting private data from every client's home system. I tried to report it, but they threatened me. If I disappear, everything is in the folder attached to this message. Don't go to the police. They have people inside." Emma's hands trembled. "Oh my God." Ryan scrolled through the folder. Dozens of files appeared: documents, contracts, lists of names and locations. Some were marked confidential. "This is huge," Mark whispered. "He was trying to expose them." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "And now he's missing because of it." Before they could read more, the sound of tires screeching came from outside. Ryan peeked through the curtain. "That's Sue's back." Panic rushed through Emma. "What do we do?" Ryan moved fast, unplugging the laptop and grabbing the USB drive. "We can't stay here. If they're watching, they'll know we saw the files." They hurried out the back door and into Ryan's car. The moment they started driving, headlights appeared behind them. The SUV was following. Ryan stayed calm, taking turns through quiet suburban streets. "We'll go to my office downtown," he said. "We can back up the files there." Emma clutched the USB tightly. The city lights grew brighter as they approached downtown, but the SUV stayed close. Her phone buzzed again, another text from Jake's number. "Don't run. You're safe." She stared at the message. "He says we're safe." Ryan didn't look away from the road. "Emma, that's not Jake. He wouldn't send that while they're chasing us." They turned sharply, pulling into an underground parking garage. Ryan killed the lights and parked behind a pillar. The SUV sped past the entrance, not seeing them. For a moment, silence filled the car. Emma could barely breathe. "What now?" "We go upstairs," Ryan said. "I'll copy everything on a secure server." Inside the small office, Ryan connected the USB to his desktop computer. Files started transferring, a progress bar slowly crawling across the screen. Mark stood near the door, watching the hallway through the glass. "This feels like a movie," he muttered. "Except it's real." When the upload finished, Ryan exhaled in relief. "Done. Even if they find us, the files are safe now." Just then, Emma's phone rang. It was Jake's number again. Ryan motioned for her to answer, but put it on speaker. "Emma." The voice was tired but unmistakably Jake's. "Are you okay?" She froze. Jake, where are you? I can't say. But I saw you open the video. I didn't want you to find out like that. Her voice broke. You scared me. What is happening? Why are these people watching us? Jake's tone softened. Because I took something they want. I downloaded their data before I left. They think you have it. Ryan leaned closer. We do, and we've already backed it up. There was silence. Then Jake said, Good, that's what I needed. But listen, they're going to come for you. You have to get out of town. Don't trust anyone, not even the police. Jake, please come home, Emma pleaded. We can figure this out together. I wish I could, he said quietly. But if I show up now, they'll find you faster. I need to disappear for a while. The call cut off abruptly. Emma's heart felt like it cracked open. Ryan tried to comfort her, but she could barely speak. The man she loved was alive but running. The next morning, they stayed hidden at Ryan's office. The news played quietly on the TV. The headline caught their attention. Tech company's Sentinel systems under federal investigation for data breach. Emma leaned forward. The report showed footage of agents raiding the company's headquarters. One line made her heart stop. Sources claim an anonymous whistleblower leaked evidence of illegal surveillance. Ryan smiled faintly. That's Jake. He did it. Tears filled Emma's eyes. He saved us. But as the camera panned across the scene, she noticed something strange. A photo flashed briefly on screen. Jake standing beside two unknown men. The caption read, Former Sentinel security lead missing since last week. Mark shook his head. At least now the truth's out. He did what he set out to do. Emma nodded, wiping her tears. But he's still out there. That evening, when she returned home, the cameras were gone. Every trace of them had been removed. The house looked like it used too warm, quiet, familiar. Yet everything had changed. As she sat by the window, her phone buzzed one last time. A text. The camera caught everything. Look at what's on your porch. Heart pounding, she walked to the door and opened it. A small brown package sat there with no name, no address. Inside was a memory card and a note in Jake's handwriting. One day when this is over, I'll come back. Until then, stay strong. She smiled through her tears. The night outside was calm. The danger had passed, but the story wasn't over. Somewhere out there, Kay was still fighting to make things right. And Emma finally understood he hadn't just set up those cameras to protect her. He'd done it because he trusted her to finish what he started. Days turned into weeks after Jake's message arrived. Emma replayed his words in her head every night, wondering where he was, whether he was safe, and if he ever slept peacefully again. The memory card he had sent sat on her nightstand untouched. She wasn't sure she was ready to see what it contained. Still, his handwriting on that small note gave her hope. One day, when this is over, I'll come back. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least something that resembled it. The news about Sentinel systems spread across every network. The company's leaders were arrested, and headlines called it one of the largest privacy scandals in the country. Reporters mentioned a missing whistleblower, but no one knew his name. Emma kept quiet. She didn't want anyone linking Jake to it. Her husband had risked everything for the truth. And now all she could do was protect his memory. Ryan checked in often, making sure she was okay. He helped her secure her home with a new security system. This time one she understood completely. He even showed her how to monitor everything herself. They would talk late into the night sometimes, mostly about small things, work, the city, the weather. But beneath those quiet conversations, there was something else growing, something unspoken. Ryan admired her strength, and Emma felt comforted by his calm presence. Yet she still kept a distance, not because she didn't care, but because part of her heart still belonged to someone who might never return. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Emma decided to finally watch the video Jake had left on the memory card. Her hands shook as she inserted it into her laptop. A folder opened with a single file labeled for Emma. She took a deep breath and clicked play. Jake appeared on the screen, sitting in a dimly lit room. His face looked tired but peaceful. "Hey, he said softly, smiling a little. "If you're watching this, I guess I didn't make it back yet. Don't worry, I'm safe for now. But I need you to know something." He paused, glancing away for a moment. "When I took the job at Sentinel, I thought I was doing something good. But I saw how deep the corruption ran. When I realized what they were doing, watching families, tracking people without consent, I couldn't stay silent. You always told me to do the right thing, even if it costs you." I finally listened. Tears filled Emma's eyes as she leaned closer to the screen. Jake continued, his tone gentler now. "I didn't mean to put you in danger, but I knew if I trusted anyone with what I found, it had to be you. You were always stronger than you believed. If I can't come home yet, I want you to live, Emma. Don't wait for me forever. Just remember me kindly." The video ended there, leaving the room heavy with silence. Emma closed her eyes, pressing a hand over her heart. "I miss you," she whispered. Later that week, Ryan stopped by with coffee, as he often did. He noticed the change in her, a quiet peace behind her sadness. "You watched it, didn't you?" he asked Dot. She nodded. "Yeah, he told me not to wait." "But how do you move on from something like that?" Ryan set the cups down. "You don't move on. You carry it differently." His words stayed with her. Over time, Emma began to heal. She returned to work, took long walks in the park, and slowly allowed herself to laugh again. Ryan remained a steady presence in her life, never pushing, always patient. One evening, as autumn rolled in, Emma and Ryan sat on her porch, watching the leaves fall. The air was cool, and the world felt calm again. "You know," Ryan said with a small smile, "you've come a long way." She laughed softly. "Feels like a lifetime ago." Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Her chest tightened. She opened it and her breath caught. "It's over. They're gone. I'm coming home soon." Ryan saw her expression shift. "Everything okay?" She showed him the message. "It's him." He smiled faintly, but didn't speak. For a long moment they sat in silence, the cool wind brushing past them. Emma didn't know if Jake would really come back or if it was just another goodbye. But the thought of him being safe brought her peace. Days passed, and every time her phone buzzed, her heart leaped. Then, one morning, a delivery truck stopped in front of her house. The driver carried a sealed envelope with her name neatly written on it. She signed for it, hands trembling slightly. Inside was a single letter and a small photograph. The picture showed Jake standing in front of a mountain range, wearing a hat and smiling. On the back, he had written "New Beginnings." "Thank you for being my strength." Emma felt tears well up again, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from relief, from the quiet understanding that sometimes love didn't end. It simply changed shape. She placed the photo on her mantle beside one of them from years ago. Two parts of her story, side by side. Months later, Emma finally sold the house and moved to a smaller place near the coast. She started volunteering at a local shelter and began writing a blog about courage and healing. People connected with her story, not because of what she lost, but because of how she rebuilt. Ryan still called every few weeks, and one day he visited her new home. They talked about everything and nothing, watching the waves crash below. "Do you ever think he might come back?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "If he does, I'll be here. If he doesn't, that's okay too." The sun dipped lower on the horizon, turning the sky gold and pink. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt free, not from her past, but from the weight of waiting. She realized Jake had given her more than a mystery to solve. He had given her strength, independence, and a reason to live fully again as she stood by the window. The breeze carried the faint scent of the sea through the open door. She whispered, "Thank you, Jake," then turned to Ryan, who was smiling at her. Life was moving forward, and so was she. That night before bed, Emma checked her phone one last time. No new messages, just peace. She placed it on her nightstand beside the photo, turned off the light, and lay down. Outside, the world was calm, quiet enough for hope to breathe again. And for the first time since that day Jake vanished, Emma slept soundly, knowing that love could survive even in silence.